So once again, welcome to our QuickBooks session. What are you doing wrong? Our first in a series that we'll be having all year long, focused on topics that are meant to make you better as a small business owner. Tonight, we are joined by our speaker, Jennyfer Metelus, who is a certified QuickBooks expert. And she's going to kind of go through some of the things that she sees business owners do wrong. But Jennyfer, you've never seen that, have you? No, nobody's doing anything. Everybody's doing it right. But just keep in mind, like I said, we want to start the year off making sure that you have your books right and you're prepared to do all the things that you have put on your goal sheet for the year, whether it's get that loan, that line of credit, get that angel investor into your company, or just be able to produce financial statements and project properly for your company, which is critical and fundamental to the success of your business. So I want to start out just by, Jennyfer, you just telling us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we'll get into your session.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Shahiwa, to present. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that fun stuff. It is a busy time of year for us, but if we can kind of get our clients into it to kind of make the process easier, that would be great. First and foremost, my company name is Beyond Tax and Accounting Incorporated. I'm right here in the heart of Tamarack. I've been in business a total of 12 years. I've been in Tamarack 3 years now. My service includes everything from bookkeeping, payroll, tax preparation, both individual and business. We do a lot of consulting, helping clients with retirement plans as well. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about helping people, especially our small businesses, and just trying to kind of getting things right. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be challenging. But I do feel the need to equip and educate our clients on what it takes to run an efficient, profitable business. So I am going to talk a lot about some of the top features of QuickBooks, things that QuickBooks can do for you, some common mistakes that we see in books, and what are the importance of a lot of these features, or why it's important for you to make sure your books are clean and in order. Common mistakes. So if you are one of those that's making mistakes, it's okay. Most important thing is that you get the help you need, get the education and resources that are in place to help you clean your books so that you can get that funding, the line of credit, and file accurate tax returns.
And that's why they are here, and we're so happy to have you. So just a few housekeeping things. I'm going to patch this over to you, Jennyfer. You do have the ability to share, and I'm going to stop sharing so you can share your slides if you have some. And then while she does that, let me click off. If you all have any questions, obviously feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll still be on, obviously I can read them, or Jennyfer obviously will pause at different times to take questions so you all can interact, and this can be an interactive session. We want you to be able to ask your questions and get them answered today. I'd ask Jennyfer to kind of go through the, can you share, Jennyfer?
Yes.
Oh, to go through some of the common mistakes and kind of take you all through that. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Jennyfer.
Awesome. Thank you, Shahiwa. So some of the top features that QuickBooks Online offers, bank feeds, where you are able to import your bank accounts and credit cards into QuickBooks. And we're also going to talk about the importance of bank reconciliation. So in QuickBooks, I am going to pull up a sample company. It's not a real company, so I'm not putting anybody's personal information out there. It is a sample company. Hopefully, let's see. How can I get this screen on this side? All right, perfect. So this is Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. It's a sample company. We use this for training purposes. One of the most important features is that to kind of make things easier, whether it's you doing your books, someone in your business, or you hire an outside person to handle this, it's very important that you link your business bank accounts and business credit cards, not anything personal, all business assets. Okay. This will allow your bank and or credit cards to talk to QuickBooks. It will import all of your transactions. Okay. And as the transactions are imported, it allows you to categorize your transactions, which is a huge part of bookkeeping, right? And that is what's going to make life easier for the person who does your tax returns. So bank fees is very easy to do. One of the things here, most of the common banks are already there. So it's just a matter of connecting an account, choosing your bank, and then selecting which accounts you want to import. These two will talk to each other. It will make your bookkeeping job a whole lot easier, and whoever your bookkeeper is, their life a whole lot easier. One of the common mistakes that we see in this bank fees section, we see businesses have their checking accounts imported, but they don't have the business savings, right? They're like, oh, I don't need to report, like, I don't need to link that because that's my business savings. That is a business asset. You still have to link it inside of QuickBooks. One of the common things that business owners try to do when we get their bank statements, they fail to disclose certain things and say, yeah, I only have one bank account. But when we look at your statements, we can see transfers going to another business account. That's not going to help you. Like, if transfers is not considered income, nor is it considered an expense. So it doesn't hurt you when you're doing transfers. Okay, so some of those common misconceptions that, oh, if I transfer money in or out, then it's going to be income. No, a transfer is not income, nor is an expense. It's just a shift of where the money is being positioned. Now, with credit cards, it's very important that you link those. Why? Because you may be sitting on expenses that you forget that you have, or you don't think you need to report them, but those are actual real tax deductible expenses that you're leaving out. So that's another important thing. A lot of times business owners, when they first start their business, right, they're funding a lot of the business expenses and the income through their personal accounts. If that is happening, it's okay. You just have to let the person who's working on your books know, so they can make the proper entries into your books to account for that money coming in from your personal credit cards or bank accounts. So next thing, once all of the charting is done, there is something called bank reconciliation. What do I mean by bank reconciliation? That's where the bank and your books match each other. That is an important step in accounting. Why? Because sometimes there's duplicates, sometimes there's information omitted. We are dealing with technology, even though the accounts are synced, right? And imported from the bank. Sometimes transactions don't come in, or sometimes they're duplicated. And the way we find those things out is through reconciliation. When we reconcile, we need the bank statement to show what is the beginning balance and what's the ending balance and the statement date. And anything that's not supposed to be there, we eliminate, and everything that is supposed to be there, we check off. This eliminates any duplication. This eliminates any missing information that should be on the ledger that may not have been on the ledger. That is an important step when it comes to accounting. Next thing, common mistakes. Gonna turn it over to reports. Hopefully everyone has seen one of these before, a profit and loss and a balance sheet, right? These are two most important financial statements that any lender, any bank will ask you for. If you are looking to get a line of credit, if you're looking to get a mortgage, if you're looking to get any type of Lending, they're going to ask you, aside from tax returns, they are going to ask for a profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. I will explain the difference. The profit and loss shows you how much money came into the business, revenue and income, and how much money went out in terms of expenses, right? A credit card payment is not an expense. Okay, you transferring money from your personal account to the business is not income. This is valid sales that the company has generated. This is valid expenses that the company incurred. It's not the same as I made a credit card payment, is that expense? No, it is not an expense. So a profit and loss shows over a period of time what the company generated and what the company spent. Now, a balance sheet is a little bit different. This shows the company's assets. A bank account, savings account, those are assets. It also shows accounts receivables. If you are using QuickBooks to your advantage and using the invoicing feature, good, because now you can get a true picture of how much money is outstanding for your company. It also shows assets, right? Inventory assets if you sell goods. It also shows whatever assets the company owns. These are good things. I see your question, Lysandra. I'll get to it. Assets are good, especially when it comes to lending. Why? Because if the company is looking for you to have collateral, you can show, okay, I have account receivables, I have furniture, I have equipment, I have vehicles, I have a building, right? These are good assets to have on your books, okay? For lending purposes, sometimes depending on how big your loan is, they may want collateral, okay? Liabilities. Liabilities is not always bad, okay? A lot of times clients think, okay, I got too much debt. There's such a thing as having good debt and bad debt, okay? Especially when it comes to lending, they want to see sometimes that another lending institutions has lent you money. They also want to see, okay, you don't have too much debt out there where we can't lend you money. And then also, if you have no debt out there, that can also hinder you as well. So again, the balance sheet is used to identify the company's assets, the liabilities, as well as equity, okay? Equity is your retained earnings, the profits from the previous years, okay? Equity may also be shareholder distributions, right? When we talk about shareholder distribution, this is money that the shareholder / business owner is taking from the company, okay? It's not payroll. If you're not paying payroll taxes, that's not considered payroll. If you just transfer $1,000 to yourself every month, that's not payroll. That's a shareholder distribution. Okay. Payroll is where you're actually paying payroll taxes and you're actually issuing yourself a W-2 at the end of the year. So let's go into the invoicing feature. I love this feature. I encourage you to use it. Okay. You do have the ability to have your clients pay through the invoice if you kind of want something to make it simple instead of using another credit card system or another merchant system. And it also allows you to kind of see what is owed to you if you build a client. It keeps everything in one central location. What I also love about this feature is as soon as the client pays an invoice, you automatically get a notification. So there's times where I'm on a trip, I'm away, I'm on vacation, client pays an invoice, it comes right to my phone, client paid an invoice. I like those emails. And if they pay through the invoice, you don't need to do anything in QuickBooks. QuickBooks automatically updates to say, okay, you had sales of $500 if the payment was $500. The other part about the invoicing feature I'll show you guys in reports. If you want to know who owes you what, who has paid what. Let's change the date here so we can get some data. So, for example, Amy's Bird Sanctuary in 2023, Amy made a payment for 108. Amy made a payment for 105, but also I can also see all of the invoices I provided Amy. This is also good when you're dealing with clients that say, I've already paid that. No, you didn't. The proof is right here. Or you can say, yes, you actually did pay that. My apologies, you don't owe anything else. But if you're doing your invoicing and your payments through here, it makes life easy. Everything is in one central location. Does that answer your question, Lysandra?
Yes, it does.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Next on the list, payroll. If you have payroll, whether it be for yourself or whether it be for your employees, QuickBooks also offers a payroll feature that does everything for you. Okay, W-2s, 1099s at the end of the year, you can do everything right in QuickBooks. Now, with the payroll feature, it is an additional fee. It's not part of your regular subscription, but it is comparatively, it's not extremely overpriced like some of the other payroll platforms. So payroll is also a great feature to add if you have payroll. Again, whether you're paying yourself or you're paying other employees or even your contractors, your 1099s, you can do that all here. The beauty about doing this is you don't have to go figure out how much you paid each contractor. It automatically calculates it. And look at this, at the end of the year, when it's time to do their 1099s, you just prepare 1099s. Oh, we don't want to click on that for now. But it will calculate everything you paid ABC contractor and automatically generate the 1099. This is a great feature. Another great feature, which is not commonly used, is your bills and vendors for your business. I will tell you personally, I pay my landlord for my office right through QuickBooks. I have a reoccurring invoice that populates on the first of every month. All I do is click a button that says schedule a payment to send to him for a rent. You can do the same thing with your vendors. If you have vendors, you have other people that you need to pay, you can do it all right here. You can create a bill, and this is where this will allow you to track all of your bills. You can create reoccurring bills. You can create reoccurring invoices. So if you're charging John Doe every month $100, you don't need to create an invoice every month for $100. You can create a reoccurring invoice that goes out to John on the 5th of every month for him to process payments. Cut down time. You can work smarter, not harder. And these are some of the features that clients don't use in QuickBooks. Efficiency is important. That's one of the things that I'm teaching in 2024 is efficiency. Time is money. So if we can cut down the time and working smarter and not harder, I think we can get a lot more done. And then finally, let's see. So we talked about, okay. Before I open up to questions, I'm not sure how important this is for many of you, but it should be important, is budgeting. You can actually budget in QuickBooks. You can create a budget in QuickBooks, right? But in order for your budget to be done properly, you have to be doing all of your utilizing all the other features, meaning invoicing, paying your vendors. Why? Because the budget feature is going to use your data over the previous year to help generate the upcoming budget. So if you're using QuickBooks for invoicing, great. It'll help you determine what your monthly budget should be for income or revenue. If you're using QuickBooks to track all of your expenses and everything, it will pull that data to help you generate a budget for different expenses, whether it be rent, utilities, payroll, all of those things. This is a great feature. If you don't know how to do a budget, if you need help doing a budget, QuickBooks got you. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions to allow time to show you guys anything that you would like to be shown. If you're not sure if your books are being done right, or you're not sure if you're doing things right, there is what we call a diagnostic review that you can have any accounting office perform for you to just kind of check on things to make sure you don't need a cleanup, everything's being done right, your books are reconciled, you're ready to go for, you're ready to turn it over to have the tax returns done. So I'll go ahead and open up the floor to any questions.
Well, Jennifer, we had a question from Crystal asking, is it necessary to hold on to physical receipts if you are managing books in QuickBooks?
Great question. So Crystal, you do, let me go over that. There is a receipt feature in QuickBooks. You can actually upload the receipt right in there. So to answer your question, yes, you need the receipt, but it doesn't have to be the physical receipt. You can simply upload it right in there for proof. So you need the receipts in the event that you are audited. The bank statement won't be sufficient.
Answer your question, Crystal? Any follow-up? Oh, she said thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, anybody?
I know it's a lot of information.
I had a question just about, you know, when you first get in there, it's like you have to create what some would call buckets, right? So that as the transactions are hitting QuickBooks, they're falling into the correct categories, or they're operating in the system the way they're supposed to be. Things that are supposed to be subtracted are subtracted, and things that are in fact revenue, that it actually comes in as revenue. How do we ensure that we're, making sure we create the right buckets? And could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Great question. So what happens is when you initially subscribe to QuickBooks and you're going through the setup process, QuickBooks is going to ask you what industry is your business in. And based on the industry, it's going to generate default chart of accounts, which you call buckets. So buckets are chart of accounts. It's going to generate default buckets or chart of accounts in QuickBooks for you. In the event that you want a chart of account that QuickBooks has not generated, you can create one here. But I strongly encourage you to only do this if you feel comfortable doing it, because you can create a whole mess. And one of the common things that we have seen is clients not understanding that gas is not a bank account. And I've seen where I'm like, wait a minute, why is there a gas account? Do you have a gas account? They're like, no, that's just that's me paying for gas. So that's actually an expense. But I've seen it where it's in bank accounts. So you first need to know the type of chart of account you're setting up before you can set it up. So if it's income that you're trying to report, if it's expenses you're trying to report, if it's a bank account, if it's assets, credit cards, you need to understand that before you can generate a chart of account. Secondly, is that QuickBooks can be as detailed as you want it to be, or as simplex as you want it to be. I have some clients that like to drill down in their financials, right? So they don't want to just see utilities. They want to see water, electricity, cable, and internet. You can drill down on that as well. Just depends on how detailed you want it to go. For example, if you notice here for Craig Landscaping, job materials, right? It's actually detailed, it's broken down decks and patios, fountains and garden lighting, plants and soil, sprinklers and drip system, right? Based on what the client needs are and based on how detailed you would like your financials to be, you can drill down as much as you can. However, QuickBooks, based on the industry that you select in the setup, it will default to some chart of accounts for you already. So a lot of them will already be there. If something's not there that you would like to see, or you want to rename it, right? For example, let's say I didn't want, let's see. Let me go to an expense. Hang on one second. For example, this one is called advertising. But let's say I'm a little more picky. I don't want to just say, I don't want to call it advertising. I want to call it advertising and marketing. I can come in here and edit that same chart of account to what I want it to say. Sorry, guys. And then I can hit save. So don't make life hard, because a lot of time the chart of account is probably there. You may not need like the name, but you can also modify it. Okay. But QuickBooks will default a lot of chart of accounts based on your industry. Did that answer your question, Shahila?
Yes, absolutely. Lysandra has another question. She says, invoicing is not easy. Can you walk us through an invoice?
Absolutely. Hang on one second. So I create an invoice. So first and foremost, with invoicing, there is some custom things you can do in invoicing. For example, your template. But that's of course aesthetics, right? We can do that. But also for invoicing, if you have certain services that you provide all the time, and you don't want to have to, and you want to make sure you are accounting for that. For example, let's say Craig's Landscaping did concrete for this company, and they charged them $1,500. This is established already, right? So if you charge sales tax, you want to put it in there. If you do, if not, if you're service based, then there's no sales tax. So then you click save and send. Now, if you have merchant services with QuickBooks, it will give them the option to pay through QuickBooks invoicing. If you don't have a merchant account established, they're just going to get the invoice, and then however you coordinate payment is however you coordinate payment with them, whether it's Zelle, check, another credit card processing system. But then once the client pays, you don't need to do anything to the invoice. That's the beauty about using QuickBooks Merchant Account. You don't need to do anything to invoice. QuickBooks will automatically update the client to pay, and that will post to your account. The part that the most common mistake that clients make is oh, got a list of clients. Let's find a client. So let's say Amy. So let's save this. Now let's say the client, we're not using QuickBooks invoicing system, right? The client wrote us a check, right? So now I need to look for Amy. And you can do a search, or you can go down the list, whichever is easiest. So now I'm going to go to Amy, and I'm going to look for the invoice, right? So invoice number that I created today is this first one. I'm then going to go to receive payment, because she paid me today. Let's say she paid me by check. She wrote me a check, and that was check number 1001. I'm going to deposit to undeposited funds. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't make this mistake and say, oh, I put it in the checking account. It's going to go to undeposited funds. Why is that? Because that check has not cleared your bank yet. So you received the check and it's going to go to undeposited funds because it hasn't cleared the bank. Once it clears the bank, you will then match the payment to that bank deposit. If you fail to do that, you will duplicate your income. Because now you're saying, hey, I received the funds, it's going to go to checking, right? But then now the payment cleared the bank. So now you have two transactions for $16.20 versus putting it undeposited funds. Once it clears the bank, QuickBooks may prompt you and say, hey, I noticed this deposit matches a payment that you received. Do you want to match them? You're going to say yes. Now, if you deposit multiple checks in a day, you won't get that matching notification because now QuickBooks don't know that those 5 checks you deposited belongs to these 5 invoices. Now it's you would have to manually attach that payment to the invoice. If it's a bulk deposit, if it's a single deposit, you just put it undeposited funds, and QuickBooks will say, I noticed that payment also matches the deposit you got. Do you want to match them? And if that is the deposit that matches that payment, then you would click yes, match. Can you go back and add checks to reconcile? Yes, you can. If there's transactions that are missing in your register, and by register, I mean, hang on, let me leave. So this is my bank register. If you have checks missing, you're not going to be able to reconcile your books until those transactions are there. And how do we enter transactions that are missing? We go to new, and if it's a deposit that we're trying to put, we put deposit. If it's an expense, here. If it's a check, here. Now this check means money went out, not a check that you receive. Okay, this is checks that you wrote out. If it's a check that you received, that's going to be a deposit. And then you can indicate in the notes, check number such and such, and also who you received it from, the client you received it from. I encourage clients to be as detailed as possible because life happens and we don't remember. Even if you think you got the best memory, sometimes you don't remember things. So I encourage to use memos. I encourage you to put all your clients' information in here. So if you ever need to reference something, your records and your details are right there for you. I hope that answers your question, Lysandra. Yay! Okay. Any other questions?
I think Jennifer, you went over the balance statement,
The balance sheet, yeah.
balance sheet. You went
Mhm.
over was it
The
did you do
profit and loss.
P&L? Could you
Mhm.
just discuss that third kind of financial statement, the income?
The cash flow.
Cash flow, yeah, that's what I meant. Cash flow statement.
Okay.
Just so people get.
So for the cash flow, the cash flow is effective when, again, you're using QuickBooks for all of your income, for all of your account receivables, right? You're reporting everything in QuickBooks. Then you can get a true cash flow planner. So QuickBooks has a feature where you can actually get a cash flow statement, which based on trends, what your company, your cash balance over a certain period of time. And it's also going to record trends. Again, this also helps with budgeting and forecasting, right? This also helps when we sit down and help clients do tax planning, right? Understanding their highs and their lows, right? Like their good months, their bad months, right? And also help you as a business owner understand, like, man, we only have we got negative 3,400. That's not good, right? So understanding your cash flow is also important, right? Because it helps you determine if you're going to have enough money to cover those expenses, to cover payroll, to cover paying your IRS bill, right? Cash flow is also important because for lending purposes, they're looking how liquid you are. Do you have a lot of room to play with, right? That's also something that lenders look at and banks look at as well. Any other questions?
No, I think we were done. Did you show where they access the financial statements?
I did in reports.
My bad. Yeah, you
And
did.
there is a million reports in here. You can get as detailed as you want. I encourage you to look at it. If you want to look at sales by customer summary, right? If you want to look at your product and service list, your 1099, even your vendors, you got unpaid bills in here. There's a lot of reports in here. So you can really, if you are a product company, you have actual goods that you sell, you can actually get your sales tax liability report right from here, how much you need to pay sales tax. There's a lot of reports in here. Some you may not ever understand or ever need, but there is a lot of information here. And as a small business owner, I think it's in our best interest to really understand our numbers in order for us to be successful. You got to know your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, you need to have someone help you know your numbers.
Thank you for that, Jennifer. I'm glad you emphasized that. That's why you're here. Um, because if you don't know your numbers, just like we talked about, how are you going to make your projections? How do you know how you're doing? How do you shift and make good business decisions so that you can perform better in the months that you're down? If you have no clue what's coming in, you have no idea the status of your business. So I don't see any more questions. But thank you so much, Jennifer. You were so very thorough. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Her a virtual round of applause. Um, because this was, we really appreciate it, because you just really went over a lot of the mistakes and pitfalls, and that's the whole point of this session. We don't want you all to fall into those mistakes or those pitfalls as you utilize QuickBooks. I will announce, especially for those of you who are members of the chamber, we had a grant go out. We received some dollars, $100,000 from Truist that we are utilizing to help members better themselves and their businesses in specific areas where we know our businesses need help, where our business owners need the help. And of course, accounting, bookkeeping is one of them. A lot of our small business owners think they can keep up, but can't keep up and don't use the software, or they use the software, but they're not using it effectively or efficiently, as Jennifer has pointed out. So we do offer the opportunity to get that service through the grant. Obviously, you have to fill it out. So if you're interested in that and you are a member of the Broward County Black Chamber of Commerce, email me at our info@ address, and we can go ahead and put you in touch with Jennifer. Through the grant, we provide, and say you feel pretty comfortable doing it yourself, we provide a one-on-one training that Jennifer will do with you, and we pay for that. And a lot of our members have found that to be very valuable. You know, because, you know, she gets to look over your information specifically and kind of walk you through that. Um, Thank you all for the great comments in the chat. Thumbs up saying this is great information. Thank you. This is what we do. And thank you, Jennifer, once again, for, you know, just relaying that information with such power. I love the passion because I know because I know you want our businesses to do well, to not get audited, and if they're audited, to be ready, and really make sure they have everything in line, because we don't want anybody getting in trouble with um, our tax, the IRS or anyone else. So thank you so much. I do want to, oh, go ahead and share your information, and then I'll just share a few upcoming events, and then we'll wrap for the night.
Okay. Well, I just did a slide with my contact information. So if anyone wants a diagnostic review, or if you want to apply for the grant and do a one-on-one session with me, it's a 3-hour session. We don't have to do it all in one sitting. We've had members break up the session, you know, the time sessions. But if you, or you just kind of want me to look over your books and see if everything's being done right, whichever. My contact information is here. My office, like I said, is in Tamarack. You can call the office and schedule an appointment. You can visit our website to see all of the services that we provide, and you can shoot me an email as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I, just to let you know, I get rave reviews about Jennifer. So she's very thorough. And thank you again for doing this for us. I do want to just give you all a few updates on what's coming up with the chamber. We do have oh gosh, I should have put the list in front of me. We have our after this session, we have a session coming up in February, centered around our Black Men in Entrepreneurship. It's an annual event we do during Black History Month. So please look on our calendar to make sure you stay up to date on our upcoming activities. We also have a Women in Business Council in the chamber, and they have another event coming up in February. That's already on the calendar. As well as some of our committee and council meetings if you're trying to get involved. We did have I'm trying to think, a newsletter that went out today. So please ensure that if you're a member of the chamber, you're getting the newsletters, because they not only have our upcoming events, they also have videos. So if you weren't able to make a past event that was educational, the link to the video is there, along with grants and other events, our partner events that are, you know, aimed at informing you, the small business owner, about what's coming up, or about opportunities in government contracting, etc. So you want to make sure that you're getting our newsletter. So without further ado, I'm going to bid you all good night. Thank you all for showing up. And I hope you all were able to get a really good understanding of what you may be doing wrong. And if you're a member of the chamber, go ahead and shoot me an email so we can get you connected with Jennifer to get that review done. We're always trying to make sure you're doing better. So thank you, and have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shahiwa. Good night.
Thanks again, Jen.